Welcome everyone to another weekly market update. Here's where we look at the long-term trend as well as the short-term trend for the stock market, because that affects everything, including your individual trades on a short-term basis and long-term basis, your pension and the economy and all kinds of things. So let's jump right in at this is the S&P 500, which is like the benchmark index for pretty much everything we look at. And it's a long-term chart, so across the bottom here we see over several years, you can see there, and there's the price up there, and each little up and down peg is a week of action, and it's smoothed out for us by these average lines. They're kind of like a moving average. As we go along, as we move along, they average out the action for us, and the short-term trend is the blue one and the long-term trend is the red one. So the important thing has been for any bull market is that it stays above the red line. That's the 40-week, and there it is. It's stayed above that, and that's what one of the measures actually is. Because there's four that allowed me to say, look, here's a brand new bull market on 7th November 2016, and the signal's not yet been given for me to call it anything else other than a bull market, which is why I've said as much, even through all this tumultuous period here, which is really just as a correction of this silly blow-off that happened earlier in the year. So it's still very much a bull market. We had a nice week of action. It almost sort of tested the 40-week line here as it bounced right off it and closed the week up high, top of its range here. All green lights there. Short term, we had a bouncing around kind of week, but ended the week very strong. And it's always a good sign when things are how people go into the weekend, the mood they go into the weekend, whether they buy or they sell. That's kind of like an indicator all by itself. So it's very good to see on a Friday that big action there, and it's sort of holding. Looks like a step around there, around 2700. So it looks like a bull market was still in play for the long-term trend. The short-term trend appears to be up as well, and hoping that I think if it just overcomes this line of resistance here that's formed around 2785, then I'll be looking at a new high shortly after that. Let's just look around at the other indexes to make sure, or indices I should say, but I'm looking at American charts, so I say indexes. Currently, there's the Nasdaq looking good. That's really been the strong player all along. Dow has got to be hit by the strong dollar, because there's a lot of exporting stocks here, but even the Dow, despite flirting with its 40-week for a bit there, finished up above. So all looking good, and the NY is like a composite of all of them put together, and that's back and forth. It's not the measures I look at though. S&P 500 is one, and there it is. I will speak to you next time.